No food for a day.
Hunger, influencing her emotions. Distracted, she is with the pangs that rumble in her stomach like the beginning of a storm that anticipates the end of a state.
No food for a week.
Thoughts are out of control. Has it been one day already, or has it been 1 week, or has it been a month already, or merely just an hour, maybe just a minute? Time has become distant, and every breath is the work of lifting the world upon her 2 shoulders, and the inhaling of air rubs against her throat, causing a friction. But instead of kindling a fire in that freezing atmosphere, she wants to kindle a spring of water. But the only running from her body is the constant rasping of her breath, in partnership with the expansion and the retention of her chest that is wrapped around her heart, which has to work harder to beat the blood around her body.
No food for 3 weeks.
Her 2 eyes sink within her face that is now defined by the bones heavily, with points that magnify the glassy look that replaced the life she once reflected so vibrantly in her windows to the soul, which now sits the attribute of death. Her body is beginning to eat itself, as she feels the sharp jab of her heart as the pulse reaches her limbs, which is unable to move as a piece is being torn from her muscles to feed her brain, and the hallucinations are what she sees, and her mind begins to play tricks upon her. Is there a devil in the dark, or is this world merely an illusion?
No food for 6 weeks.
Her muscles have shrunk in size as her pale skin hangs like a dead man tied upon a rope that is pulled by the tyrant to control the puppet's on strings that will fail to intercede with she, because it is inconvenient and no political benefit can be opportune by a dead body forgotten in this soil from the decline of being fed. And even an executioner gives the one on death row his last meal. This soil which is a grave reminder of a rich man's blood money that flows the seas of genocidal. Now her legs begin to swell with the loss of nutrients in her body, and next her immune system begins to lose the fight against an infective violation that contaminated her blood further to weaken her physical body. And the worst thing of all in all of this is that it could have been stopped if we fought as hard for her rights, if we fought as hard for their rights, the same way we fight to defend our own.
No food for 8 weeks.
And now the time has come for her last breath, and her eyes follow the ascension of her soul. Finally, after an exhausted haul, her test has come to an end. The hours still remains alive, and know that the dead will arise upon this earth to be a witness against those who forced them to die. Was she not alive? Was she not a member of humanity? How is it that we live in a world where the rich die from overnutrition and the poor die from undernutrition? A wise man once said, "Sometimes I'd like to ask God why he allows poverty, famine, and injustice in the world when he can do something about it." But I'm afraid he might ask me the same question. How is it that we have to reach an extreme situation to use an extreme measure? I am ashamed of myself for sharing a post on Facebook for a day until the trend changes and then moving on swiftly to today's news story. I am ashamed that my hand is heavy when reaching for my money to give the starving babies of Medea, yet I have an automated service of monthly subscription to Netflix. What a joke! I am ashamed with myself for allowing this to happen, for not speaking up, for not following this speech by actions. Was she not a life? Or was she just tied only to the condition of death? Hunger killed her. But what's worse is not the fear of death of this body. It is to fear the death of the heart before the death of this body.